Are we filming? Yes, we are. So, as many of you know, my weapon of choice is a Pilot G2, and I buy them in these packs because it's cheaper to do that. And I normally have the broad gauge, 1mm, instead of the usual 0.7. I just like them, and I get through about 50 of these a year, one a week. But one of the problems, let's see if I've got a binder to show you. One of the problems, so it doesn't matter whether or not it's a modern binder or one of these lovely vintage binders. This is a really nice one. I like this, particularly because the popper is still in existence, which is quite rare for a vintage binder, but I digress. So one of the problems is that these Pilot G2s won't fit the pen loop. Not that I'm really into pen loops, but if you are, this may not be the pen for you. Mindful of the fact that I've used these Pilot V7s before, I just want to show you something, and then I will talk about the Pilot V7. So, on almost every single Filofax that's ever been made, whether it be vintage or modern, this alternative, which is a Pilot V7, which is, you can't, as I understand it, cannot get a 1mm nib, but or point. But this is okay. It's normally a choice between the V5 and the V7, and the V7 is 0.7. But why am I talking about the Pilot V7 when I have told you that the Pilot G2 is my weapon of choice, albeit it won't fit in a pen loop? Well, I used to, when I was working 30 years ago, actually, I was using these exclusively, and you can still get them. So they've been around a very, very long time, and there's a reason for that. It's because they are excellent, absolutely excellent for drawing, writing, doodling, but importantly, they are very fast drying, which is from a business paperwork point of view is very, very important. And I use them in black and blue, but the black ones are good for filling in forms, and there's still times when you have to use black compared to blue, and they're fairly waterproof as well. You can get water damage on a form, and there's a certain element of survivability. I don't know how long, I don't know whether this ink will fade in 200 years time if people are looking at my journal in a couple of 100 years time. I don't know, and I don't really use these for journaling because it's a different kind of writing style. It's a filling in form style rather than a smooth writing style. But nevertheless, the critical thing for many of you, I suspect, is finding a pen that will fit a standard Filofax pen loop. And this is it's almost as if Filofax sat around the table many years ago and said, do you know what, in the future, this Japanese company called Pilot are going to make a pen called the V7 High Point. Let's make sure that all our Filofax pen loops will fit this amazing pen in the future. But the fly in the ointment, perhaps, is that another group of Filofax designers sat round and said at one point, I know, maybe instead of using a single piece of leather here, what we'll do is get an even thinner piece of leather and then fold it over to make it look like a thicker piece of leather, and where the join is, it's invisible to the naked eye. The only problem with that is that if you have a snub nose pen like this and you put it in one of the modern Filofaxes that have this folded over design, in terms of the construction material, the leather, then this could easily, almost inevitably snag. So you get to the pen halfway down and then it's snagging on a piece of the edge of the leather that's inside rather than on the end here. So I personally do not like the folded over design because it will not fit these. It will only fit what I call pointy ends pens. But if you've got a traditional Filofax with a solid piece of leather that goes all the way through, so there's no folded over bit, then these are an absolute perfect fit. So just let me digress here because it is a Sunday morning and I've had my first coffee of the day, which means I am raring to make a video. So kids are back, and what do we all do when the grandchildren are back, or the children if you're younger? Your eyes are tempted and you see these on the shelves in your local shop. In fact, these are actually from Tesco, which is a food supermarket chain here in the UK, and they put out a little display of pens and things just before the children go back because, you know, they're very good at marketing and why not? But these I remember, I mean, they're Oxford, Helix Oxford. I don't know where they're made, probably in the Far East, but 1887. I mean, I used to have one of these tins with things, pens and rulers and rubbers and that. When I 50 years ago when I was at school. And here they are with the same sort of format. So it's not changed. Let me move that one out of the way. There's this stencil set, which is always good fun if you're a 10-year-old. Then a school timetable and maths sheet. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Fantastic. And they've got this fantastic thing where it says school, and I don't know what that is a symbol for. But then you've got morning, and then you've got lunch, and then you've got afternoon, and then you've got free time. And quite interestingly, there's a slight incongruity here, and I know I am deviating from my bullet points here. But lunch has a knife and fork. My grandson reliably informs me that knives and forks are not provided anymore because it's just something you can eat with your fingers. And then you've got the afternoon, and then you've got free time. You've got like a games controller. So you don't have, like, maybe 60 years ago, 50, even 30 years ago, you might have a football and a goalpost or some swings or something to suggest that people are out running around. And here we're looking at children's free time, a games controller. Sign of the times, isn't it? But anyway, and also this thing about the timetable, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Well, my grandchildren start the school at 8:30 a.m. So I wonder whether this is a legacy of an established timetable that dates from the 19th century rather than 21st. But anyway, so you get this thing, and then you've got this what I call a cheat sheet. I mean, we all made our own cheat sheet and just fitted it in here, didn't we? S equals UT plus half AT squared, and all those sort of scientific formulas that back in the day we had to remember rather than being given them on a sheet of paper when we enter the exam, which apparently is what they do these days. But, you know, good for them if it helps. And then you've got these other bits and pieces. So you've got a set square, and I don't really understand the difference between this square and this square. But anyway, we get them, and then you've got this fantastic protractor. And whoops, let me just try not to move the camera. And then a pencil and a rubber and a ruler, and you have also got a pencil sharpener. Well, let's put the pencil and the sharpener and the ruler in here because they are synonymous potentially. Oh, and a rubber too. Let's put the rubber in there. I'm having fun here, but indulge me. And then perhaps we can put 3 Pilot G2s, and we can put in a Pilot V7, and then we can put in another Pilot V7 and another Pilot V7. But then we don't have any room for any bits and pieces, so maybe we can use one of these Kaweco tins, which I'm a big fan of, because then you can put your pencil and your rubber and your pencil sharpener in there. I tend to keep leads for a protracted pencil and one single G2 ink cartridge and a couple of USB devices, and so that was and a charging cable for my phone. Very much EDC there, isn't it? But this is ideal, in my opinion, for EDC, everyday carry, and these are not too big. You can fit them in your pocket, and in fact you could probably, with less pens, you could probably fit a couple of highlighters in here. Those who have followed my recent videos will know that I use a green and blue highlighter to denote different sections in my Frankenfax Filofax that I use as a working tool. So I can carry these about my person, and I can fit all sorts of things in here, and those can go in there as well. But as you can see, I've stocked up, so I've got another one of these, because they do seem to be available very cheap this time of year. And then as far as the pens are concerned, well, interestingly these days, when you buy them from your local store, I bought these from my local 88 Smiths. I try and support local shops if I can, rather than buy online, although I don't really know where my money goes from 88 Smiths, because it's a huge multinational company. But nevertheless, I feel good about buying from a proper shop, so I bought some of those, and then I bought some more of those, and then I bought some more of them, and they obviously are at risk of theft these days, but I just thought I would stock up. I've probably got enough here to last me a few months, and I need to buy a few more Pilot G2s, but there we go. Interesting, why have I got a piece of paper around there? Because that piece of paper denotes that it's a 1mm pen rather than a 0.7 nib, but there we go. But a bit of a haul video, really. But essentially it's just a Sunday morning coffee break video. I wanted to share with you about what I bought recently. And I'll leave it there, but maybe there's food for thought for you, especially with the Pilot V7 being able to fit potentially a lot of Filofaxes, particularly vintage ones, with a straight through piece of leather rather than the thinner folded over type of leather construction. Anyway, thanks very much. Until next time, goodbye.